Hi guys, this is Kritik here with Kritik Maths and Education. And today we're going to be talking about on how to solve quadratic equations. So first, the holy grail and the number one thing to solving quadratic equations is the quadratic formula. Let's take a look at this. The quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac and all of that over 2a. This is the only thing that's going to give you all the answers and is going to help you with solving it. And you might be asking, Kritik, what's all the b, a, c for? Well, I'm going to tell you that. Let's take a look at an example. Quadratic equations are normally always equal to 0. Some of them might not be equal to 0, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, we're just going to talk about the ones that are equal to 0. So, an example might be x squared plus 11x plus 24. We're going to walk through and solve this together. Okay, first thing you need to know, the number a is equal to the number in front of the x squared. So, if there's not a number in front of the x, then you can just assume that the number is 1. Okay? So then, for this quadratic equation, a equals 1. Alright. Now, for b, right here, as you can see, b will be the number in front of x, not x squared. X squared was a. X, only x. And for this quadratic equation, 11 is the number that's in front of x. So b will equal to 11. Okay, now the c is equal to the constant or the number that has no variables and is always the whole number and the constant. It doesn't have to be whole number, but it's the number that has no variables, okay? Just remember that. And that number in this equation will be 24. So C equals 24. Alright, now that we have assigned our roles, let's get to solving. Alright, so let me just erase this really quick. Before we start solving though, we always need to remember that you have to always think about the sign that's in front of the number. For example, we assigned that b equals 11 because that's the number that's in front. But you also have to look at the sign that's in front. And as we can see here, the sign is obviously positive. So that's why we put positive 11. But if the sign, for example, was negative, then b would equal to negative 11. Negative 11. Okay. Now, let's get to solving. Let me just clear this out. Alright. We saw that a equals to 1, b equals to 11, and c equals to 24. We saw that before. Now, we just have to use the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a to solve using this. Okay, first thing, let me just erase this really quick. I'll bring it back, don't worry. I just need to erase it for some space. Okay. A equals 1, B equals 11, and C equals 24. C equals 24. So, alright. Now that we're settled, let's get to work. Okay. Now let's work on substituting. So first, we can see that negative b is the first part of the equation. So we can substitute that for b equals to 11. So it will be negative 11 plus or minus. Now let's work on the numbers that is inside the square root. So first we have to do the square root. And then after that, we can see that we have to substitute for b again. So we can say that 11 squared plus, my bad. Minus, see, even now I'm forgetting. I need to learn this more too. All right, minus 4 times AC. So we can see that in our classification, A is equal to 1. So 4 times 1, and then times C, which is obviously 24. Okay, now we have to divide all of that by 2a, which is basically 2 times 1. Okay, now let's get to work on solving. Okay, now that we have our substitution, let's work on solving it. So, we can obviously know, let's start with simplifying the square root. So root of 11 is 121 minus 96. And then after that, there's 11 squared is 121. And then we have to square root that. Sorry guys, sorry for the mess up. Alright, now this equation, is equal to 25. This equation we can simplify this even more to the square root of 25. Let's see what we have so far. So now we have negative 11 plus or minus the square root of 25 over 2. Okay, now let's work on solving. So first, the square root of 25 is obviously 5. And then after that, we have to separate the negative 11 plus or minus the square root of 25. So what I'm saying is we have to separate this. So we have to distribute the dividing of 2. So negative 11 over 2 plus or minus 5 over 2. Now we have to solve. So first, this plus or minus sign is very special. We have to include both the adding the numbers and subtracting the numbers. First, let's do adding. Okay. Adding. Okay, so since they're both the same denominators, we can just add them. So we can simplify this to we can simplify this to negative 6 over 2, which is equal to negative 3. So answer 1 is equal to negative 3. Okay, now let's work on answer 2. Now we have to calculate for subtracting. Subtracting. Since again both are the same denominators, we should have to subtract. And you guys, if you're watching this video, you probably already know the rule. Keep, change, which is K, C. So this equation is negative 11 plus 5, which is plus negative 5, which is negative 16 over 2, which is equal to negative 8. So answer 1 is equal to negative 3, and answer 2 is equal to negative 8. This will be your answer for the quadratic equation of x squared plus 11x plus 24 equals 0. Let's work on one more. Let's try to solve the quadratic equation negative 2x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Now, let's use the quadratic formula to solve this. So first, let me write down the quadratic formula first. You guys have to memorize this, like seriously, this is the holy grail. You have to memorize this of quadratics if you're gonna do well in Algebra 1. Because this is like the most important thing. Alright, let's get back to solving. So first, you have to assign this number is the A, this number is the B, and this number is the C. Now we have to include the signs in front of them. So A equals negative 2 because there's a negative sign. And B is also a negative since there's a minus sign in front of the coefficient of x. So it's equals to negative 6. And guys, coefficient just means the number in front of x. I'm not trying to confuse you. And then after that, the constant is obviously just 8 because there's a positive sign or plus sign in front of 8. Alright. Now, let's get to substituting. Okay. So, first, we know that we have to start off with negative b. And since this is, so then it would be negative b minus negative b. And since these cancel out, this will turn into a positive. This is a really common mistake I see in most people. So, since that the equation negative b will simplify, if you substitute, will equal to this, the negative and negative will cancel each other out, and this will equal to just 6. Remember that. Now, let's actually get to solving. Okay, so first, as we said before, negative b is basically just 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared minus 4 times negative 2 and 8 all over 2a, which is basically 2 times negative 2. Alright, solve. Okay, so first, let's do the ones in the square root first. Guys, I recommend to do the square root first because that's just the easiest and you can get it out of the way, no funny symbols, alright? So first, negative 6 squared is 36, positive 36, because negative 9 times negative equals positive. So then it will be the square root of 36 minus, since there's a negative sign in front of the 4, these two, it's negative times negative, so just cancel out. So it'll be positive 8 times 8, which is 64. Then, after that, let's simplify it even more. This is equal to 100. So the square root number will be 100. Alright. Okay. So we all know a square root of 100 easily is 10. So now our equation will be 6 plus or minus, let me just get rid of this, 6 plus or minus 10, because remember we simplified that square root of 100, over negative 4, because remember before we said 2 times negative 4. So it will equal to this. Now let's distribute the dividing negative 4 again, like how we did before. First, let's do the adding, since this is a plus or minus sign. Let's do the adding first. So 6 over negative 4 is equal to, is plus 10 over negative 4 is equal to, since they're both the same denominators, we can just add, which will equal to 16 over negative 4, which equals negative 4. So answer 1 will equal to negative 4. Now let's solve for answer 2. Just the same equation, just with the minus sign. So it says this same denominator, so no work there. So 6 minus 10, negative 4. Again, that's really a lot of negative 4s. And then after that, since these are both negative, you cancel them out, since dividing by negative is the positive. So this will equal to positive 1. So then answer 2 will be positive 1. Positive 1. I don't need that plus. You guys are smart enough to know that's a positive 1. So for the equation, negative 2x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. The first answer is 1. Or the first answer is 1. And then the second answer is negative 4. This is how to solve a quadratic equation. Okay. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you went all the way through and watched this whole video, make sure to comment your test scores. I want to see how much my video has helped you guys. Thank you and peace.